So we're talking about Cavaletti poles. We're going to talk about different options for how you can make sets of Cavaletti poles and the key requirements in what you need to make it work for your dog. Cavaletti poles are one of my favorite canine fitness exercises. They work on so many different things, from cardiovascular fitness to range of motion through joints, core strength, and fluidity with movements. So ability to proprioception, so being able to tell where their limbs are in space and move them appropriately. Because it's a rhythmic activity where we're wanting them to have substantial movement and get into a rhythm, we want to have enough poles. So 8 to 12 poles is ideal. I really like 10. I have 10 poles myself. It fits nicely in the space that I have available, and it's enough poles to let my dogs get into a really nice trotting rhythm. So 8 to 12 poles is how many you need. How you make the Cavaletti poles, it's really up to you and what you need in your dog, with your dog, and the space that you have available and the equipment that you have available. I have a really nice set of aluminium poles that have been made with a cross on the end. The advantage with these is that I can turn them and make them different heights for my different dogs, because I've got dogs of all different heights and sizes. This means that I can use them for all of my dogs, so it's super useful. They're also nice and light. The key criteria that we need for Cavaletti poles are that the poles are visible and look the same. We don't want different poles that look different colors or have different stripes, because this can change how your dog trots through the poles. So we want visible poles that look the same. We want the poles to be at least 0.9 of a meter wide, but it really doesn't matter how wide they are. If they're really, really wide, that can be a disadvantage and an advantage. So kind of around a meter is perfect. The height off the ground really only matters if you have a very small or a very large dog. So a very small dog, we need the pole to start on the ground and then to go up no higher than the dog's hock height, so their ankle height at the back. It's the same for all other size dogs. We start very low, so on the ground or just above, but we never really go above the dog's hock height. So you can use those measurements to guide how you make your poles and your options for poles. You can buy poles that are already made up, so they're custom made for dogs. So Clean Run have, I think, PVC Cavaletti poles. There's PVC plans online, which I'll try and include a link to. You can buy the Toto Fit Cavaletti poles. The disadvantage with these ones is they only really have 2 height options, and you can DIY them. So you could use a PVC pole or a wooden pole, as long as they're visible, and you can put cones on the side. The cool thing with the cones is that you can adjust the height. They're easy to find and they're relatively cheap. You can do a similar idea with $2 shop, so dollar shop plastic baskets that have holes on the side. You can shove the poles through those as well, and then as you rotate them, it will change the height of the poles. One of my favorite, cheapest options is just to get a couple of cans, drink them. This is permission to drink something tasty. And then just a little squish in the cans. We can prop the pole up and we can change the height to some degree. And if you want to get super fancy, you could duct tape them on. The key criteria with the height of the poles, like I said before, is relative to the height of your dog. But the other thing that we need to consider is that we want to make sure that this pole is not easily displaceable. We don't just want it flat on the ground, because if your dog hits it, it's going to roll, which could potentially be a hazard. We don't want them to hurt themselves on the Cavaletti poles. They should be useful for fitness. So 8 to 12 poles, height adjustable, 0.9 wide. Your starting distance for your Cavaletti poles apart should be your dog's height measurement to the withers. So if your dog is 20 inches to the withers, the poles should start 20 inches apart. That's just a start measurement. Would need to film and look at where their feet hit through the poles to really fine tune that. But it's a good place to start. And most of you that are doing agility have your dog's height to the wither measurement. So you can work that out pretty easily. Let me know if you have any questions about Cavaletti poles, and I look forward to seeing what you guys do with them.